Hey everyone, in today's video we're going over 3 heroes that you are playing wrong and how best to play them, as well as some great tips for learning or improving on them. First off, Sigma is a really great tank that can counter many longer range heroes and deals a ton of damage if you can actually land his primary fire. Most of the time though, I see Sigma players just spamming their rock off cooldown, spamming the enemy tank a bunch, dealing a ton of damage but not actually getting eliminations and making things work. The first thing you have to know about Sigma is you absolutely need to manage your cooldowns well. Make sure that your shield is never breaking and always just throw it out for a couple seconds, and if it gets focused, take it away and play behind a wall or take some damage until it recharges. Your main goal as Sigma is to get focused for a little bit, use your shield to stop the focus fire on you, drop it, get focused again, and if you're pushing an objective or trying to take space, you can cycle using your shield and your kinetic grasp ability to take space away from the enemy. You have to remember that his kinetic grasp actually turns damage that it eats into overhealth, making you a lot tankier whenever you're pushing into enemies with a lot of spam damage. And whenever you're playing Sigma, you want to be pressuring the objective and spam pretty much any enemy that comes into your view. You can very easily punish overextending squishy enemies with your rock and your primary fire. Any DPS or support player will die from a rock plus 2 of your primary fires, which is just a single shot. So make sure that you are really good at hitting those rocks so that you can get an easy insta-kill combo on pretty much any squishy hero. The amount of Mercy and Lucio players that I've picked off just by hitting a good rock is insane, and if you're playing against an aggressive enemy team, you're gonna have a really easy time once you learn to land those rocks. The only time that you really want to be using your rock throw on the enemy tank is if they're using an ability like Roadhog's heal or Reinhardt's pin so that you can cancel it with the knockdown effect. A great tip for using Sigma's shield is whenever you're fighting enemies up close is placing it behind the enemy in between them and their supports. If they're unaware, you can easily burst them down before the enemies break your shield or the enemy tank or person in your face realizes that you're blocking off their heals. And Sigma's ultimate is really great. If you didn't know, Sigma's ult deals 50 damage whenever you lift the target up, then whenever you drop them, it deals 50% of their maximum health. This means that if you ult a full health Roadhog, it will do 50 damage and then 300 damage whenever he drops. So if you are fighting tanks and using your ultimate on the enemy tank, this can be a really great way to actually finish them off. But you're mainly going to want to use it on enemy supports. So you should always be looking to ult the enemy supports first or DPS, making sure that you're getting at least one person in your ult, then using your primary fire while you're ulting to whittle them down and finish them off with that final drop. An easy way to actually get guaranteed kill on an enemy support or DPS that's getting healed in your ultimate is making sure that you're pre-aiming where they're going to drop so that you can use your primary fire right as they hit the ground to finish them off before the healing can help them. Christmas is right around the corner, and here at GameLeap we have a present for you. You can use code SANTA for 50% off your GameLeap subscription. And not only that, if you sign up during this Christmas season, you will have a chance to win a VOD review from one of our top coaches. We will be picking 10 random GameLeap subscribers, so make sure you sign up today if you want to improve now. Genji is another hero that I see many people playing wrong. As Genji, your main goal is to poke at enemies, slowly pushing towards them while whittling them down and then dashing in to finish them off quickly. One thing you really shouldn't be doing as Genji is just running around the enemy's backline looking for easy kills. Similar to Tracer, Genji excels in bursting down heroes that are distracted or already being damaged. You should be playing off angles and high grounds as your teammates fight while poking at the squishy enemies or farming your ultimate off the enemy tank and looking for singled out enemies or heroes that are being focused by your team. You also want to make sure that you're using your secondary fire almost exclusively from short to medium range, as it's a lot easier to get consistent damage with your secondary fire hitting 1 or 2 shurikens instead of trying to hit 1 or 2 from your primary fire. Another big mistake many Genji players like to do is using their dash as a finisher ability. If you didn't know already, Genji's dash resets the cooldown whenever you get a kill. skill. What many players might not think about or don't know is that there's no timer on this, so you can simply dash into a full health enemy, then finish them off with your secondary fire as fast as possible, then use your dash as soon as it gets off cooldown again with that elimination to escape away, instead of just dashing at the enemies whenever they get low after fighting them from a mid or long range. The reason that this is a lot better than finishing them off is because getting close as Genji allows you to use that secondary fire to hit all 3 shurikens, dealing up to 87 damage, I believe it is, and with a melee combined, that's 110 damage, which after 2 full shuriken bursts and a melee, an enemy is going to be dead. As Genji, if you find a singled out target, you absolutely want to dash into them as quickly as you can, burst them down as quickly as you can, and then just escape, instead of just trying to poke at them and then dash into them once they get low enough. If the target that you're fighting starts to get healed and focused by the enemy supports, you need to immediately retreat or swap targets to the enemy support that isn't being focused by a healer. It's nearly impossible to kill a pocketed player as Genji, and you're almost always better swapping targets than actually trying to finish off the target that's getting healed. For Genji's ultimate, you want to make sure that the enemies have no easy counters like Zenyatta's ult or Lucio's ult so that you can actually get some value from it. If the enemy team has a Zenyatta or Lucio, you want to make sure you try and dash into them and focus them a little bit, either forcing out their ultimate or getting the elimination on them, then using your ultimate so that you can actually get kills with it. You also want to make sure that you're either dashing into the air and picking a target as you go, or you're picking a target before you dash, then dashing into that target and then using your ultimate to get the dash reset from it so that you can finish them off that much faster. Genji's Blade is probably one of the strongest ultimates when combined with a Mercy, Kiriko, or Ana ultimate, so if you have any of those heroes on your team, make sure you're trying to communicate with them and combo whenever possible. And lastly, for Genji, your deflect is a great tool for escaping failed dives. You can dash into an enemy, and if you fail to burst them down fast enough, start backing away using your double jump and your deflect to get to safety. Otherwise, you really only want to be using your deflect in 1v1 scenarios where enemies have big burst cooldowns like Sojourn's Beam, Soldier's Rocket, and even Cassidy's Grenade. Cassidy is one of the strongest heroes in the game and can be an absolute monster if played correctly. The biggest mistake players make on Cassidy is not positioning correctly. Hitscan DPS rely on good positioning to easily pick off enemy DPS and supports that are overextended or just unaware. The main thing you want to focus on whenever you're playing Cassidy is to position yourself on a high ground first, and if there's no high grounds nearby, make sure that you're playing an off angle opposite of your teammates. Playing directly behind your tank as Cassidy will pretty much only allow you to shoot the enemy tank and enemies that are overextending past their tank. And while that might be fun, racking up a ton of damage on the enemy tank, you're unlikely to actually ever finish off the enemy tank unless they're making a lot of mistakes. What you instead want to do as Cass is play opposite to your team, whether it's on the left or the right, or on a high ground so that you can shoot the enemies from the side or from above. What this does is it allows you to take pressure off of your tank player and teammates, allowing them to make more aggressive plays and allowing your healers to focus on other things like pocketing you on the off angle. Taking pressure from your tank is going to put some of the focus onto you, so making sure that you're playing in your support's line of sight and making sure you're playing near enough to them so that you can retreat if you get focused and pushed is exactly what you want to do. Now, your target priority as Cassidy should almost always be supports first unless they're too far away or there's an enemy tank or DPS directly in front of you that is immediately pressuring you. So what you want to do is focus supports first, and then you get to focus the DPS, and then after that you can finish off the tank. But if there's anybody right up in your face or focusing you hard, you want to be focusing them, getting their focus off of you or finishing them off before you switch to other high priority targets. As Cassidy, you can push up on these off angles and try and hit your magnetic grenade on squishy enemies, but you need to make sure that you're not using your roll to actually get in close to enemies. You want to be saving your roll so that after you use your magnetic grenade and hit the enemy with a shot, you can roll away from the enemies that are going to turn their focus towards you. And lastly, for Cassidy's ultimate, your positioning is going to matter so much more. Not only that, but making sure that you have some support with you is key to getting great ultimates off. Standing perfectly still and taking up to 2 seconds to kill somebody is a recipe for disaster, so making sure that you communicate with your supports and your tank player before you ult is going to be really important in actually getting good ults off. The easiest way to secure value from Cassidy's ultimate though is on flying heroes like Mercy whenever she's ulting or just flying around in the air. Pharah and Echo whenever they use their flight ability are stuck in the air for a little bit and can be a very easy lock on and a quick elimination whenever you are playing Cassidy. That is all I have for today's video. Thank you all for watching and I hope you have a great day. Christmas is right around the corner, and here at GameLeap, we have a present for you. You can use code SANTA for 50% off your GameLeap subscription. And not only that, if you sign up during this Christmas season, you will have a chance to win a VOD review from one of our top coaches. We will be picking 10 random GameLeap subscribers, so make sure you sign up today if you want to improve now.